Pop two Drixenol and call us in the morning. It's time to talk Osmosis Jones.
Osmosis Jones!
I wonder what this does.
Dad,
I'm feeling better already.
he's coming, man.
Check it out.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monthly Life in the Movies podcast stream. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Ryan Cam, joined by Jacob Martin. Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. How have you been doing?
Doing good. You know, tomorrow is my birthday, and this is my last day of being 26.
27.
Yep, another trip around the sun. I liked it so much that I decided to do it again. Townsend 505. Hello, guys. I remember hating this movie. Well, we'll touch on that in a minute. But another trip around the sun. I'm looking forward to it. I got plans for year 27, so it's going to be very interesting. But enough about me, Jacob. I hope that you are doing well.
Yep, I'm doing very, very well. Things have been going well in my life, school, personal relationships, and it's been very good.
Well, thank you very much for the happy birthday in advance. But tonight we are talking about Osmosis Jones from 2001. This was, I was about to say this was released in 2001, but I just said from 2001. This was directed by Bobby and Peter Farrelly, and if that name sounds in any way familiar to any of you, Peter Farrelly directed a little movie called Green Book, which broke film Twitter when it won the 2018 Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And they've also done movies such as Dumb and Dumber, Shallow Hal, and There's Something About Mary, among others. And among all of that eclectic filmography is this weird little animated movie from 2001 called Osmosis Jones. Jacob, when I pitched this to you, I was under the assumption that you had seen this before, and it turns out you haven't. So
No.
I throw it to you first. What did you think?
All right, so I do have an interesting story kind of with this movie. I had heard about it for several years. My younger sister saw it, I think she saw it in high school, one of the science classes. And afterwards, after she saw the movie, she went up to me and she's like, Jacob, do not watch this movie. It is disgusting. It's one of the worst animated movies I've ever seen. I'm like, okay. I'd never heard of it. Probably because the film flopped when it came out and it got forgotten about. So when you asked me to cover Osmosis Jones, I'm like, I'll give it a shot. Especially since I've never seen it. Well, unlike my sister, I actually came out liking this movie. I think this is a visually inventive movie. I like how the movie visualizes how the body works and functions. I love the 2D animation in this movie. This film has a really good voice cast. I do have some issues with some aspects of the story and the way certain things are handled directing-wise. But as a whole, I thought this was an enjoyable time.
Yeah, this has always been an enjoyable movie for me, but it's also like really weird because Bill Murray stars in it. It's got Chris Rock as Ozzy, and there's a lot of big names attached to this. You got Lawrence Fishburne, you got David Hyde Pierce as Drix. Lawrence Fishburne plays the big villain Thrax, who is Muerta Roja, I believe that's how you say his name, but he commonly goes by Thrax, and so we'll just call him Thrax throughout. William Shatner voices the Mayor Fleming, which is spelled Phlemmming, which I thought was very clever. Molly Shannon, who goes through absolute hell in this movie, let's just not get that twisted. And then Bill Murray, who is the crux of this whole thing. He plays Frank, where all of this is going down. Jacob, have you ever seen the movie Fantastic Voyage?
I've not seen that one either, no.
Well, it's it's basically about a team of scientists who get injected into this scientist's body because he has a cancerous tumor in his brain and they go to eliminate it. This is like a buddy cop version of Fantastic Voyage in a sense. And if any of you have ever seen Fantastic Voyage, I'm sure you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But we
I
are
got another one for you. Have you seen the 80s movie Inner Space?
No, I haven't. That's John Carpenter, right?
No, that is Joe Dante. I've seen that movie
Oh.
once. And that is Dennis Quaid. He gets shrunk down and he's inside Martin Short's body.
Well, I'll definitely have to be watching that. But this is a comedic buddy cop version of movies like that. And your tolerance of this movie is going to depend on your love or hate of bodily fluids, because there is quite a lot of that. Really, this whole thing starts because Bill Murray's character is going to eat this deviled egg or this poached egg, and it falls on the ground. He's like, oh, 5-second rule, and he eats the thing. And I don't know, that turned me off of deviled eggs for like the rest of my life, because that was gross. It gets grosser, but that's like the thing that like kicks this whole thing off.
I'll tell you what's funny, going back to my sister, because she was like, that scene in the movie where he eats the egg is the grossest scene of the whole movie. And I'm watching it and I'm like, I didn't think it was that gross. He just eats an egg.
Not the oyster? Not the zit? No, it's
there's,
the egg.
There's other scenes in the movie that I would argue are grosser than just Bill Murray eating an egg. But that's just me.
But the main character of the movie is Osmosis Jones, Ozzy. He's voiced by Chris Rock, and he eventually gets a partner named Drix, played by David Hyde Pierce. They're basically a kid-friendly comedic version of Riggs and Murtaugh, for lack of a better word. They are an odd couple, but they're forced onto this job. And it's funny, as I've seen Spiral from the Book of Saw, Chris Rock plays a cop. And so Chris Rock also, in turn, plays a cop in this. I don't know. It's a weird sort of connection, I guess. But I don't know. I liked the chemistry between these two.
Not to mention, Chris Rock was also in Lethal Weapon 4.
That's right, he was. Yeah, I haven't seen all of them yet, so I need to get on top of that. But
yeah, I think the buddy angle in this movie is a lot of fun. I love Chris Rock's voice role in this movie. He had so much charm to the character, and I think he just balances the line for being. He has the cockiness that you would want in a character of this type, but you also want to root for him at the same time. And that's hard to pull off, and he was able to pull that off very effortlessly. And I liked David Hyde Pierce as Drax. Would say Drax, the pill character.
Drax,
not Drax. Why I say Drax?
That's Guardians of the Galaxy.
But I love the design that they have with the Drax character, where, yeah, you can see that, yeah, he is a pill, but he also kind of acts like the Terminator almost when he's going in there trying to do his thing. I'm like, okay, he's got like a gun and everything. I'm like, oh, I like how they're able to they pull that off creatively in animation.
It's like movies like this. Like whenever I take a Tylenol for like a headache, I'd be like, imagine there's like a Tylenol bot who's just going around like, go away, headache. Like he's shooting a gun around, like killing all like the headache viruses, for lack of a better word. I know how anatomy works.
Yeah.
But I love the chemistry between the two. And it was so good that despite this movie being a box office failure, for context, the movie made $14 million on a $70 million budget, which in any era, that is just not good. The chemistry between Ozzy and Drix were so good that they got a show on the Kids WB that lasted for 2 seasons, from 2002 to 2004. So
Nice.
They got something out of it at least. And honestly, that was like the best thing that could have spun out of that whole thing. I don't think Bill Murray ever returned for the show, though.
No, I can't imagine him coming back for that. He did voice Garfield twice, so you'll never know.
That's very true, yes. But as far as the movie goes, it starts out with the boiled egg, and then you see Thrax show up. And I don't know about you, but I've always found Thrax to be pretty intimidating. It always like Lawrence Fishburne is like a pretty good indication that like your movie's going to be good. Like Lawrence Fishburne's
Mhm.
really good at what he does. But like he has like the red like hand, like the finger specifically, and he just like drags it across things. I don't know. It just he always gave me the creeps.
See, the first time I saw the movie, I saw this villain, and I'm like, yeah, if I saw this film if I was younger, he would have scared the crap out of me. And I think that's a very effective villain, is one who's really intimidating and also very memorable. And this movie does have a memorable villain. I didn't even know it was Lawrence Fishburne until after the credits roll, because he kind of put on a distinct voice, which for Lawrence Fishburne, who already has a distinct voice, putting on another voice, I think just shows you how impressive he is as an actor and he can play different characters.
Like I
And just the
swear,
way he goes about, he's pretty much a virus
yeah,
essentially, and so he goes out. Some of the body count in this movie is absolutely insane. Some of the germs and the cells that he kills off in this movie. Most of them are off screen, but the ones that are on screen, like this one character disintegrates, is another one where there's a character that like gashes out in half, and you see like a really, you can tell like stuff's been cut off drastically, and I'm like, man, if Warner Brothers made the live action remake of Osmosis Jones fully live action, that would be a terrible idea, by the way. But if
yeah.
that had happened in live action with the exact same cut in the animated film, it would get a hard R.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because I was doing something earlier and I was thinking about this stream and it came into my head. I wonder what would have happened if this movie were end up being like a rated R animated movie, which I'm glad they didn't do, but like it would be just even crazier if they went that route. I mean, like Thrax, like you would see like blood and you would see like maybe they'd have a scene involving Frank's private areas, who knows?
Mhm.
They could have
I
gone even
mean,
crazier. It's the Farrelly brothers,
I
so
mean,
they're not afraid to go that
the
far.
film was partially directed by the Farrelly brothers, and we can't forget, the Farrelly brothers only directed the live action segments of the movie with Bill Murray. There were two other directors who did the animated stuff. So I think if the Farrelly brothers, I think if they directed the entire movie, it probably would have been darker, probably raunchier, probably edgier. Probably would have been a more divisive movie if that was the case. Because I think their track record is pretty hit and miss.
That is definitely for sure. And then you got other characters in the movie. You got Mayor Fleming. Like I said, I love the naming of there, voiced by William Shatner, and I really enjoyed him. His secretary is named, and I'm surprised they got away with this in 2001 even. Leah Estrogen. Her literal last name is Estrogen.
Well, I did not pick up on that when watching the movie, but that's a joke. That's wild.
Yeah, like even in 2001, I'm shocked that they were able to get away with that. Literally naming a female character Estrogen. And look, it's a movie about the human body. Like it takes place in the human body. So you got like Ozzy is a white blood cell. You got Drick, who's named after the pill that he represents. Like very literal names. You know, Mayor Fleming is obviously Flem, of course, but literally naming a female character in your movie Estrogen, that would never fly today.
I'm surprised they didn't have a character in this movie named P. Enes.
I mean, if this were the hard R version with the Farrelly brothers, I'm surprised they didn't go that far. Like you're an Enos P or something like
Enes
that.
P. That's even better.
No, but this your enjoyment of this movie is really going to boil down to how much you can tolerate gross out humor.
Mm.
It starts
Yeah,
out with the boiled egg, and then it goes to what Jacob was touching on earlier, the vomit scene where Bill Murray eats a really bad oyster, and yeah, it does not end well for poor Molly Shannon. Like, bless her character, she goes through it in this poor movie.
yeah, I would say the one. This is like the biggest issue I have with the film. The gross out humor, that one, I think they went a little too far with the gross out, especially like the visual image of Bill Murray vomiting on her. And I think I don't think I'm kind of mixed on it, I guess, because I think if it was played as a straight joke, it would have been really funny. But the scene was shown as a flashback during a scene where Osmosis Jones recalls the time where he became a laughing stock because he made a decision that was last minute when controlling the Frank character, and that led to the vomit. And I think they were trying to play it out like this incredibly sad backstory for Osmosis Jones, but yet Bill Murray vomiting on Molly Shannon's supposed to be really, really funny and gross, and the two tones don't mesh well in that scene. It
No,
took me.
no, they don't. And what's funny is that, again, bringing things back to Spiral, I'm sorry, like this is like the second or third Spiral reference, but in Spiral, there is a plot line in which Chris Rock's character does something to where he becomes an outcast on the Force, similar to what happens here in Osmosis Jones. But
Who
it's
knew
played
there
up
were
for
so many
laughs here.
connections
It's
between
played for
two
laughs.
completely different movies made for two completely different audiences.
Yeah, and like 20 years apart, and yet the whole like the plots almost like repeat themselves almost. Look who's here.
Oh no.
Three J's in the house, boys. Wow, this movie must be scraping the bottom of the barrel if Ryan got you do. Well, actually, Jacob enjoyed this one for the most part. Spiral is a mine is my it, I guess is a million times better than Osmosis Jones. We're not comparing qualities. I'm just saying that it's eerily similar. I guess that is my point.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if you felt this way, Ryan, but I feel like the animated sequences stood out to me more than the live action stuff. Like
I
every
agree.
time the film got back to Bill Murray doing unhealthy habits and having arguments with his 10-year-old daughter, like I felt like I was kind of watching a different movie. I get what they were doing. There is the connection that the animated stuff's supposed to be in Bill Murray's body, but it did kind of feel like a disconnect. I think because you had two different directors doing, you had the Fairley brothers doing the live action stuff, two other directors doing the animated stuff. Whenever the movie was animated, I was really invested in the storyline. But I felt like Bill Murray, I think he overacted a little too much in this movie. Like he was more cartoonish than the cartoonish stuff in the actual movie. And Bill, I don't think I laughed once at Bill Murray in pain or vomiting or any of that. Like the cringier stuff in this movie was all Bill Murray. But I probably fault the Fairley brothers for that.
Jacob, why Jacob? You're better than that. But
Uh,
I
but
think
yeah,
there is a bit of a tonal clash for me, where like Bill Murray's daughter is involved. Her name is Shane, weirdly enough, but her name is Shane, and like there's a whole thing of like her mom passing away, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But then there's like a really dramatic death scene near, or not death scene, but like a near death scene with Bill Murray's character near the end. I was just sitting there like, uh, okay. It's like are we supposed to be laughing at this or not? And it just, I don't know. Like you said, tone just all over the place.
I will say, as far as blending the two mediums, I will say it does pay off at the end, where Thrax, the villain, and Osmosis Jones, they go out of the body and they're like in the real world, and they're having this brawl. And I think visually, I think that's really cool. And then Osmosis Jones is on landing on. There's this really cool payoff moment where uh, the daughter has these fake eyelashes for this like makeup kit that she had or whatever while she was on the school bus, and Osmosis is on the fake eyelash, and as she's crying, thinking that her dad has died, that is what gets him back in and saves the day in the end. And I think that, even though the dramaticness of this film maybe feels a little forced, I think it does work as a good payoff for the story. That ends the film on a satisfying note.
Yeah, there's a like the grossest part for me was honestly the zit.
Oh,
I
really?
love that whole sequence. But like I don't know, there's a part of me that just like seeing it and then just like explode and then like landing on Molly Shannon's lip. I was just like, ugh. I don't know. That just freaked me out more than like the vomit stuff. I guess like it's
Uh,
like they're on equal footing for me. But I've struggled with acne my whole life, and I have a pretty cast iron stomach. So I don't know. Maybe it's just different. Different experiences, I guess. When I saw this movie, I felt like it was two different movies in one. Bill Murray just gross in this movie, and the animation is boring. Well, I'll disagree with the
I,
last
I
part.
do
The
I do
animation
see where you're coming from, Jacob. At times, it does feel like two different movies, but I do think it pays off in the end.
would have been funny if the final battle took place in Bill Murray's. Okay, it
Oh
would
man,
have been Shrek level funny at least. Glad you guys like it. Take care, Jacob. Ryan, go watch Rushmore. No,
oh,
thank you.
I,
I'm
I've
not.
seen Rushmore. That's one of Bill Murray's best performances.
He's good in the movie, but there's a whole thing where like young Jason Schwartzman and like his whole like cougar hunt thing. Just
It,
no,
it, it is it is a weird movie.
no. It was
Bill
it was
Murray and Jason Schwartzman are trying to sabotage each other because they both have the crush on the same girl, even though Jason Schwartzman is underage and Bill Murray is already married.
no not as weird as the Royal Tenenbaums, where Luke
Oh
Wilson
no!
nearly commits suicide because he's in love with his sister Gwyneth Paltrow. Just
Or
oh
or
no to all of
or
that.
Gene Hackman pretending he has cancer so he can bring the family back together.
And people unironically like the Royal Tenenbaums for some strange reason. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But as far as like I love like the body pun. I love some of the body puns. Like people hate puns. I love puns for some reason. Like the gang is named the Scabies. Like Thrax takes over like the Scabies gang, and like the dude is like sitting in like the sauna sorta. I don't know. I love the world building and the animation wise. It is like it tickled me, I guess.
Yeah, I like the visual interpretation of how everything worked inside his body, and that's part of the reason why I got into this movie. Like all the characters like have their own city. They have a mayor. There's different functions of how things work. There's a crew that comes up and cleans out all the germs in the mouth. Uh, I even like, it would have been weird how they would visualize if they did it, but it showed like it. I would have wished they have shown how the coming out of the system would work, but that would give it an R rating probably.
More than likely, yes. It's like in another
Uh,
world, this movie is like a rated R, like a South Park bigger, longer, and uncut like rated R. And I don't
well,
know.
well,
I don't think that would
I
have
can't
made the
imagine them
movie
showing
earn.
the anatomy, but you know, but you can probably get away with it a little better in animation than you would live action.
Yeah, I agree. But to close things out on this, I think this movie is like a weird eccentricity. It's like not like greatest of all time status, but it's not like really bad either. I think its biggest sin is that the tones just consistently go like that. If it had been full on animation, I think it would have suited the whole story better. But it's like one of those movies that's like too weird to live and too rare to die. Jacob, what did you think?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. Like it does feel like this is two movies competing against each other, but when the movie lands, it's actually really fun. I love the film more when it's animated. I think if they had just kept the thing animated, maybe Bill Murray played a cartoon character, and I think even he would have been funnier in this movie if that was the case. I think I would have loved the movie even more. I do think it's still underrated, though. I do really like the animation in this movie, the way the movie's visualized. There are some fun sequences. Like I said, I like the voice cast in this movie.
Out
I'm
of
not
one to
gonna say.
five, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Like I said, I'm not gonna say this is like the best animated movie since Snow White or anything, but still a pretty admirable film. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5.
I'm going to go. I'm gonna go 3.5. I think I liked it a lot less than you did, but I that's not like an out and out like statement on the quality. I still think it's very enjoyable, and it's crazy to think that it got a 2 season run on Kids WB, like spun out of all of this. But
Yeah,
it's weird to think that people were like, I see some people sometimes compare this to Inside Out. I'm like, Inside Out is like a completely different like movie. Inside Out deals with emotions. Osmosis Jones deals with body stuff. It's
yeah,
like different.
exactly. I remember when the Nostalgia Critic did his thing on this movie. That was the big thing in his video, the comparisons between Inside Out and Osmosis Jones. But to be honest, I don't really see the comparison. They're two completely different movies.
It's like saying that Donnie Brasco and Black Mass are the same thing because they're both gangster movies starring Johnny Depp. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they had those things in common, but Donnie Brasco is an FBI informant movie, and Black Mass is about James Whitey Bulger. One's a biopic, and one is well, they're both biopics, excuse me, but one like Johnny Depp plays just a terrible criminal, a gangster, and then the other one he's an FBI informant, Donnie Brasco. So it's like they have similarities, yes, but they're very general. When you dig deep into their overall stories, they are different.
I got one for you because I see people pit these two against each other all the time, and this is gonna feel like a soapbox rant, but I'm sick of people comparing Tangled and Frozen. They're two completely different movies. Yes, they're made by the same studio. Yes, they came out around the same time, but Tangled, and yes, they're Disney princess movies, but Tangled is the Rapunzel story with a Disney twist. Frozen is a Hans Christian Andersen story with a Disney twist. Frozen is about sisters. Tangled is a Rapunzel story. It's also a love story. So, two completely different movies. That's it and that's all.
Yeah, it's like saying that Snow White and Tangled are the same movie because they both involve Disney princesses. I'm like, no, they're not. Like they have similarities, yes, but grand scheme, they're very different. But
Yeah.
uh, but regardless, I pass it off to all of you. What did you all think of Osmosis Jones? If you're watching this after the fact, let us know in the comments section. We'd love to read what you have to say. But Jacob, it's always a privilege. I know how to talk. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to do this with you every month. Tell the people where they can find you. Your channel's linked in the description, but what have you got coming up?
Coming up on my channel, actually in less than 30 minutes, I'm going to be on Nick's channel, Townsend 505. We're going to be reviewing a Johnny Cash album called The Sound of Johnny Cash. I'm looking forward to reviewing it. I plan on uploading a Celebrating Disney review this week. It'll be for Toy Story 3 is the one I'll be uploading this week. And then this Wednesday at, I think, probably around 9:30 p.m. I actually I'll be at a seminar that Wednesday night. But if I make it, it'll be 9:30, 10 o'clock, more than likely. I'll be live with Henry Mockingbird for the next installment in the Don Bluth series that we're doing. Last month we did Pete's Dragon. This month we're going to be reviewing a 30-minute short film he directed while he was still at Disney called The Small One. Criminally underrated short film. Not too many people talk about it, and I think the short is absolutely amazing. So be on the lookout for that live stream coming this Wednesday. I'll also be reviewing CCR's album Cosmo's Factory tomorrow night with Nick from Townsend 505, Scott from Scrap Dog Scott's Records, and Jason the Old Millennial. That is a really epic CCR album. Has a lot of big hits on it. That's the album that has hits like Traveling Band, Up Around the Bend, Run for the Jungle, Who'll Stop the Rain, Looking Out My Back Door, among others. So that album is loaded with great songs.
Yeah, I picked out like 5 or 6 of those just of you reading them off. Like CCR is like a great band.
They are.
But like I said, Jacob's channel's linked in the description. Go give him a subscribe. He sings over there, and he's got a good voice. But as far as this channel goes, just a brief aside, I am going to be working with some of the guys, Nick and Jason the Old Millennial, coming up very soon to talk about a little band called Genesis. And I have been working my way through their albums. I'm on album number 3. And it's been an interesting journey, let's just say that. But I'm going to be working with them coming up very soon. As far as this channel goes, I'm within striking distance of 500 subscribers. I'm at 492 last I checked. So I am literally like 8 away from getting there. So if you haven't do so, subscribe already and hit that bell and all of that. But coming up, I've got a Planet of the Apes ranking coming up. My review for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes dropped earlier today. I'm going to be reviewing both the Strangers movies for The Strangers Chapter 1. Small Talk every Tuesday. Talking Silence is coming up later on this week. Wednesday, we're talking about Hannibal. Pray for me, Jacob Collins, Matt Wyatt, and Jason the Old Millennial's collective sanity on that piece of crap. But there's a lot coming up on the channel. But thank you all so much for watching. For Jacob Martin, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one. You all have a good night.
Night.
And